New Secret Lair time, it is Praetors this time. Really interesting ramifications about the details of this announcement. We'll get into that later. But first of all, you need to know that the Praetors are going to be the next Secret Lair, which is crazy that they're already announcing these before the current Secret Lair sale is even over. Like, talk about moving on to the next hype train, right? It's like, hey, you can currently buy one of the Secret Lair limited short time, open for a full month. And now they're saying, hey, the next day, as soon as this one's down, the next day there's going to be another one up at the end of May, so we're going to announce it already. Pretty crazy doing it this quickly, but man, these things with the Phyrexian text, this is going to get people excited. Steven with Magic Window Money, thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You'll like other videos that I post, or maybe you won't, and you can unsubscribe later. Elesh Norn has already been done in Phyrexian text. This was a judge promo of years ago that these things are worth like $400 or $500, probably around $400, a little over $400 to get a brand new one in mint condition. And now they're doing Elesh Norn along with the other Praetors in Phyrexian text. This is really, really interesting. I mean, on the surface, you would think, oh, so are these things going to be like $200 a pop? No, because obviously the supply is going to be way higher. Those judge promos have a really, really low supply. Part of the reason why they have such a high premium, no matter which one it is. This is one of the more expensive ones, but all the judge promos, the swords, whatever, they all have expensive premiums because of the low supply. But there is a lot of room for these Praetors to be pretty expensive. I mean, just off the shelf, we're talking about reprinting pretty expensive cards. So this isn't like Serum Visions or, hey, here's a $1, $15, $20 card with packaged with some other cheap cards. Like, the Praetors are expensive, with the exception of the red one that's only like $10 and the black one's like $20. These are all $30, $40 cards to get in good condition. So these are really desirable, expensive cards as is, which makes me wonder, how are they going to package these? Couple of theories. One, they could just package them all together and just say, hey, $120, $130 for all 5 of the Praetors. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I personally think they're probably going to do something more like when they printed the Titans from Theros, right? When they did Uro, and then you could get the other Titans. You get Frost Titan and Primeval Titan. And then when you bought Croxa, you got it with Grave Titan and Inferno Titan. My guess is they're going to do something like that, where these 5 Praetors are going to be available in 5 different drops. That's my theory. That's going to be 5 different ones. And yeah, they'll do a bundle where you can get them all, but each one is going to come with other cards of the same color. Or they'll do some type of combination where maybe you buy 2 and 2 of them are bundled together and another 2 of them are bundled together, or maybe the Elesh Norn is by itself, or Vorinclex is by himself since it's the most expensive one. I don't know exactly what they're going to do, but my guess is that they're going to do some type of separation where you're going to have to make multiple purchases in order to acquire them all. Time will tell. Don't want to speculate too much on that. But one thing that's really interesting is, what are they going to do for the price point? So let's say that, Elesh Norn, about $30 on the open market. Are they going to sell this one at $30 because it has that fancy text with the Phyrexian text? I mean, that's the whole idea of Secret Lairs, right? Is that you get the alternate art for basically the same price. But because we've already seen Phyrexian text as an alternate art before, both with Elesh Norn and with the new Vorinclex, the one from Kaldheim, not the original, that's available in Phyrexian text as well, and it holds like a 30-40% premium. And so that makes me think, are they going to try to pull over some 20, 30, 40% premium on these ones? I could see them doing that as long as they attach some other value too. Maybe they do some basic lands. That'd be interesting. We've seen the Phyrexian Swamp from Jumpstart last year. Maybe they decide to do some Phyrexian art basic land, or they do something else where they say, hey, we're going to include other creatures or other spells, other cards of each color. So when you get Elesh Norn, you're going to get 2 other or 3 other white cards that are going to be with the Phyrexian text, and maybe one of them is a basic planes, who knows? Time will tell, but to me, the most interesting part about this announcement is where it came from. The announcement didn't come in your traditional Secret Lair Twitter. It actually came hidden at the end of an announcement about the Historic Anthology, next cards for Historic going straight to Arena. This has some major implications, because they said at the end of the article, they said, hey, all these cards, they're being printed into Arena for the Historic format. This random format of make it up as you go and just print cards and put them in the format. Historic is weird. But they're saying, hey, at the end of this, if you want these alternate card styles, they'll be available in a Secret Lair. That's really interesting, because what they're doing here is they're now printing Secret Lairs specifically for Arena players, which means This is Wizards approaching arena players who are new to the game and have only played the game in a digital format and are saying, hey, what a great opportunity to start building your paper collection and getting into paper Magic. Because one of the things that Wizards has done really, really well from a business perspective is selling their customers multiple times, right, on multiple things. For example, how many fetch lands do I own? Like freaking 80, because I own 40 in paper and 40 online on MTGO. They do a good job of making sure that their customers buy their products multiple times in multiple formats, which not only is that good for the short term of obviously increasing revenue, but in the long term, what that means is this is a really, really sticky product in our lives. Meaning, hey, as a consumer, I am very much invested into this for the long term. I'm going to be a repeated customer, which is really important, especially in consumer sales. And so for them to say, hey, we're going to print these cards that are very much targeted. The only reason these are even being talked about or being printed is because we're putting them in historic. That means, hey, for all you arena players who are new to the game, you're going to start building a paper collection too. And here's a way to do it. Get yourself your historic, your online arena digital art card styles while buying yourself some paper cards. Now, does this mean that historic will potentially move to paper? Possibly. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, I just want to emphasize that this very clearly signals to me that they're saying they want to get people who are currently playing in arena to play in paper. Now that, I believe, is just a true indicator and a sign of where Wizards is going. The idea as to whether or not historic is going to be a paper format, this one is a little bit more skepticism, and this is reaching, extrapolating, no facts on this. But it is possible that they're saying, hey, this arena-only format, we're going to move this to paper because realistically, Legacy, not a format that can be supported in paper. It's just not enough people play it for it to make good viewership. It's just too hard to get into because the mana base is so restricted because the dual lands, of course, on the reserve list. So Legacy, it's gone, it's dead. And so that means, hey, if they want to have 3 formats, well, which is really good for tournaments, right? These team tournaments we've seen really have success back in 2018, 2019, when the world was still open and people were playing in paper. It was going to be, often it would be Legacy and Modern and Standard. And then they started moving it when they opened Pioneer to being, okay, this is going to be Modern, Pioneer, Standard, which allowed a lot more people to play because you didn't have to go find yourself a Legacy player. And then you didn't have to compromise your tournament entering by saying, yeah, we kind of have a Legacy player, but he's just playing the mono white Death and Taxes deck because it's way, way, way cheaper, or he's playing a burn deck because it's so much cheaper. And it's just, it didn't really work well. So it was nice to be able to get rid of Legacy for those team tournaments and make it easier for people to go and grab a couple of friends and go and play in these team tournaments. And they could potentially decide that, hey, Pioneer and Historic, it's this weird mumble jumbo, no one knows which format's going to take off, and maybe they decide they're going to push Historic instead, so that way these tournaments can have Modern, which is like the most powerful broken format with fetch lands, and then they have Historic, which they're clearly trying to make Historic a more powerful format than Pioneer. Like Pioneer is just like standard cards, whereas Historic, they're saying, hey, we're going to print things like Faithless Looting and try to print some combo pieces and make sure that there were combo decks in this format. But the key thing is there are no fetch lands except for Fabled Passage, which is huge. Fetch lands, not the topic of today's video, but they are very much broken. They break the rules of the game in a lot of ways that might not be obvious on the surface level. So this could be a way for them to say, hey, we're going to have the broken fetch land format of Modern that's going to be more popular and actually accessible, Historic, which is going to be a powerful format that has some combos, and then Standard. Definitely not sure on this, but something to keep your eye out if Wizards continues to do things that hints towards them pushing Historic to be in a paper format, which is very possible. Thanks, we'll see you next time.